Hey guys, this is my first tutorial video, and I was asked very kindly by the Chameleon Pens people if I could show how I do my watercolor style. For anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Amy, and I am a tattoo artist who specializes in watercolor. So without further ado, here we go. Now what I really like to do is start with my center and work my way out. And as you see, I always pre-draw something that's kind of a focal point. When I'm planning out a piece for a tattoo, I tend to have a body part in mind and just one thing that kind of tells the story and takes you along for the ride. Now for anyone who hasn't used a Chameleon pen before, they're not familiar with the medium, there's three parts to the pen. There's the mixing chamber, and there's the brush tip, and there's the bullet tip. And you just choose which tip you feel is appropriate for the task. Brush tip leaves a more, spreaded edge like a paintbrush, and a bullet tip is a little bit more finer and to the point. And you pop it into the mixing chamber and you give it a couple seconds to absorb the mixing solution, and then you go to town. You also need to remember to use gravity, let gravity be your friend. You keep the mixing chamber at the top. So that doesn't mean you tip it upside down and you let all the color pour into the clear solution. You will also notice here, as I start working on the petals, I always go from where I am intending to be my lightest point and working into my darkest point. So obviously with the flower, the deepest part would be the closest to the stem. Now obviously this does take a little bit of time if you have a specific color that you are that you have as a goal in mind. For example, this I'm using the red, but I'm kind of wanting to go for that like pink tone, so I gotta pay attention to like how dark it goes on me, because if you go too dark then obviously you have to start over. You gotta make the whole thing really dark. I do also apologize for the lighting. Unfortunately, with my very busy job, I don't get much opportunity to record unless it's very, very late in the evening. So apologies for the poor lighting situation. Another thing I should mention that I really enjoy about the Chameleon Pens, because they're alcohol based, you can actually mix some of your mediums. For example, you can use Copic pens with the Chameleon Pens and it doesn't necessarily affect the image as bad as if you were to use, a non-alcohol based pen or marker. You can also mix mediums, but I suggest sticking with drawing based mediums for drawing style artwork. Personally, my favorite are the Chameleon Pens, Copic pens, and Prismacolor pencil crayons, at least for drawing mediums. I don't recommend using the Prismacolor pencils first. If you're going to use them at the very, very end, just because you don't want to wreck your markers. And a lot of people don't know that, but it will destroy your markers if you use the pencils first and then the markers last. Anyways, you can see here I'm using the clear color blender in the negative space. This is something that I like to do when I'm starting to create like the watercolor effect, which is really just splashes of negative space with color. I find that pre-coating with a with the clear color blender gives me a little bit more of a blend. It extends the color just a little bit more, and it's really helpful for that purpose. And I always start really, really light. I pre-plan everything and go from my lightest to my darkest, and generally start from the spot that will be the furthest away to the closest, just so that it gives that little bit of dimension. This can start to be the really fun part, because the image itself will start to take shape, and you can decide which direction you want everything to go. For me, I generally keep with what I call the S shape, and it's pretty popular in tattoo terms, but it's just keeping that flow where it could really fit on any body part. Personally, I enjoy like thighs and legs and ribs and, you know, really feminine body parts, just because it fits really nice on them and it complements that shape really, really well. But for when you're just laying it out even on paper, it's just a really fluid style, and it can take really any shape you want. You can have it so that it starts on one end and goes to the other. You can have it so that it's just bursting directly from the center. It's just deciding where you want to go with it and what you want to have as your end result. This is the really free part of it. There's no right or wrong way of doing it. You're just having fun creating that piece of artwork and using your imagination. You will also notice with these like little bursts of color, I'm not necessarily like, I don't have a real game plan. I'm just feeling it out, and I'll pause every once in a while and kind of imagine like which way I think it'll go, but it's really just, enjoying yourself and having fun with the piece. I know it can be a little bit frustrating when you're trying to get technical, but that's, I guess, part of the fun with, I guess, all art is you're just really expressing yourself, right? You're just enjoying what you're doing. So for anyone who didn't notice here, I transitioned from the more green color to the sky blue color, and I'm just blending that in really lightly to complement that. generally, as far as color palettes go, I prefer to keep colors within their family, but technically the whole rainbow counts, right? Cool colors I generally keep with cool colors. Warm colors I keep with warm colors, unless I really, really want that sense of contrast. If I wanted to go really crazy with it, I could lay over some yellow over that flower and just make it really, really pop. But I was kind of following more the stargazer mindset, like I was going for the pink instead of just that really, really bold, like tiger lily orange or yellow. So the last thing that I do is I take the fine tip pen and I just hash out all the little details. I personally, for my pieces, really enjoy adding a bit of black to it at the end, just because I feel like it gives that extra bit of contrast and really helps bring attention to the piece and really makes it pop. The watercolor looked fine, obviously, on its own as well, but it just adds that little bit of something extra. And again, this really has no rhyme or reason. It's just feeling it out and feeling what you want to portray in the piece. You can go really crazy. You can be a little bit more conservative if that's what you prefer. This is definitely the longest part of the process. You want to make sure your lines are really tight and they're filled in properly and you don't have any negative space. So it's just about patience and making sure that it's the way that you like it when you're done. I also want to take this time to thank the guys at Chameleon Pens for reaching out to me and requesting that I do this tutorial video. When I purchased the pen, I really just liked the idea of the product and I didn't really think much of it, and I started sharing my work on my Instagram, and one of the guys emailed me and said, hey, we really like your stuff. So I thank you so much for this opportunity and to share my artwork with all of you, and I really hope that this was a valuable learning experience and maybe it'll bring out a side of you never knew you had. Again, thank you so much for taking the time out to watch this video and joining me on this wonderful art adventure we are all going on. As you can see, the piece is almost done and I'm going to leave it here, but happy drawing, everybody.